What's going on, YouTube? Back on the scene, making sure I'm trying to keep my content constant. How we doing today? I guess big news. Gas is legal now in Ohio. I'm not sure exactly the full impact of that, but I know they have their, bylaws and restrictions as far as recreational use. Don't really know how that is going to play out as far as what is considered. They say 2 zips, but I don't really know if that's going to be the standard. If you got 3 zips, are they going to really come down on you and say it was a zip over? I don't really know. But I know it's a big thing for it to happen in Ohio because it was very split according to the news polls or whatever. But it seemed like it won easily, you know. So, that's big news for Ohio and, a lot of my supporters and fans and, and just for my own peoples, it's a big thing for that to happen. The abortion rule or law, I'm not going to speak on that because, I just feel like a man, stay out of that. You know what I mean? You don't really want that smoke. So, some big news that I thought maybe wasn't big news to everybody, but this thing that's going on with Lebron and Shannon Sharp. LeBron, if you don't know, he made some comments about he tried to kind of discredit the Miami Heat to be like, well, the Miami Heat, really, I would have still been winning chips whether I went to the Heat or not. That's just who I am. And that seemed kind of like fake, you know what I mean? Like he's trying to say he didn't need D Wade or Chris Bosh or Ray Allen or any of them cats. Nah, Bron, you did, bro. You hadn't done nothing on like a championship level before you got with them cats. Those guys are the ones that really got you. And the first trip, they blamed the whole series loss against Dallas, say that you was, a coward, more or less. So don't do that. And then Shannon pointed out that how foul those comments was by LeBron to even, make those type of comments. And, now it then turned into a thing to where, you know, you know, Shannon, he capes, and anybody that have watched any of his time on Undisputed or First Take, he capes up for LeBron hard, and he wear the little goat helmet thingy, and always arguing this whole Jordan versus LeBron thing. So for that to really become a thing, it's just kind of like, hey, Bron, I mean, you know, the man gotta constantly cape up for you, or you got a problem with it if he can't give you any constructive criticism without you. And this is the same thing I talked about on the video yesterday with respect to the black-owned business thing. LeBron is a perfect example, even though it's a different field, but it's a parallel to where like the people that get on these big platforms, ESPN, Fox Sports, or whatever, TNT, and they openly support you. The minute they say something that you don't like, now all of a sudden you like, oh man, how you gonna do your boy like that? Like LeBron, for you to make a statement that the Miami Heat tenure that you had over there did not elevate your career, move you into a GOAT conversation. Without them championships over there, they wouldn't even be nearly arguing for you against Jordan. You got 2 rings over there, bro. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and segue over to a little bit more NBA, and I maybe didn't mention that I'm also a big Spurs fan. So, my Spurs have been down, and I enjoyed all the Tim Duncan and Ginobili Parker, even the earlier years with, Robinson and Sean Elliott and Avery Johnson and Jaren Jackson and all the cats that came through Spurs, even Steven Jackson, you know what I mean, came through, scooped up a ring over there, Kawhi Leonard. But we've been kind of quiet for the last few years because there's been this transition of the older guys retired and now the younger cats are coming in. So, with that being said, my guy Wembenyama, man, I'm feeling so encouraged about what this guy's potential is. And I don't know how you guys are. A lot of people really don't pay attention to the NBA until around Christmas. Once the NFL is going on, I get it. And I've been kind of that way in the last few years because my Spurs really haven't been relevant. But now that we got Wemby, now I'm kind of more focused on the NBA and making sure I'm able to stream my team's games. And I still, I've always been a LeBron supporter. That's why I made the comments because I'm very disappointed in LeBron because there have been a lot of people that have called out LeBron a lot sooner, a lot way back. Like he's a phony, he's a fraud, he's this, he's that, and I've been one of those people that have been a defender of him, maybe not to the level that Shannon has, but I've definitely caped up for him on occasion. You know what I mean? So just come on, man. Now you starting. I remember when the guy was talking about the cardiac arrest his son went through, and then when he addressed the public, the first thing he said was, well, he will be able to continue his basketball career. And I'm looking like, why is basketball even on the table? What is you talking about basketball for? You almost lost your son. So I've been seeing some chinks in LeBron's armor, and I'm hesitant to make these sort of comments on YouTube or the internet in general because I don't ever want to be misrepresented as a guy that like to kick people in their drawers. But I mean, some things are facts, and you just have to admit it. To where even with my beloved Cowboys, when I see errors or when I see bad coaching decisions, stand on business. And that's how I live my life. And that's how we all should, is as far as just a code of conduct or things that are acceptable or unacceptable. Now, the other NBA topic I wanted to touch is before I segue is James Harden, a player that I have a lot of respect for, but behavior is kind of, I don't know. Now, I do know that some of the things that are going on between him and the 76ers are or were going on before he got traded were kind of more complicated because it was allegedly like some backdoor handshake deals about you give some money back to the team and then I'll hit you up next year. And these things weren't documented and they weren't contractual. And I mean, it's really just like a homeboy promise almost, like, hey, let me go ahead and get that from you, and then I'll hit you back with woo woo woo. No, 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 no. We're not doing that. So I do kind of get how he felt betrayed because allegedly he said, when he gave that bread back to the team, that Daryl Morey had promised him, I'm gonna hit you back as soon as this is over with, and then we can renegotiate and this and that and the other. So, James Harden may have some legs to stand on when it comes to when he wanted out of Philly. If somebody made a promise allegedly behind the scenes and they don't come through, sometimes the bro code, the man code comes in to be like, dude, you can't be serious. You cannot stand here in front of my face and tell me that you didn't tell me boom, boom, boom. That's not standing on business, man. Sometimes people say things thinking that time will erase it or heal it. And when it come time to stand on it or come through with it, now oohs and ahs. Now, with all that being said, some of his ways that he got out of Houston, got out of BK, and got his way to Philly, I don't know, man. It's like Harden, he just kind of like bratting his way to wherever he want to go, like temper tantrum type shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that's what you're doing. So now he got his wish. This man actually was able to negotiate himself to a team where he decided he wanted to go through or go to. And he did it. So now he there, but with Russ and Kawhi Leonard and all these other guys, I don't see how they're going to be able to coexist with only one ball. I mean, and I saw the first game that they played, and it just looked like it wasn't coming together. Every super team, and just the whole concept of a super team is it's kind of misguided. I remember, and I'm old enough that some of you might remember the early 80s Philadelphia 76ers teams were always in the mix, but they had Dr. J, probably one of my top 2 or 3 favorite players, regardless of what era, what position. I mean, Dr. J, if those of you that are, here that know what I know about who Dr. J was in the league at that time, when Magic and Bird and them came in, and then Jordan came a few years later, Dr. J was already holding the league now. He was like the biggest thing, even though Magic and Bird, they were like pups coming into the league to where, from his ABA years and then coming to the NBA, he was already an established dude, you know? But what I'm trying to say is they were right there, but they never could get over the top until they got Moses Malone with the fofo, and they was like, that was a super team that just wasn't a whole bunch of guys thrown into a pot and able to cook, like what James Harden have kind of forced in Los Angeles with the Clippers, to just say, okay, just because we got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, that don't necessarily equal a good dish. Like, I don't know how, if these guys, somebody gonna have to sacrifice some of their game. On the surface, it seems like, okay, well, Russ gonna have to take a back seat. But Russ is running the point. He got the ball in his hands off the rip. He gonna eat. So which one out of Harden? And the game I watched, it seemed like when Kawhi Leonard was shooting the ball, he was almost shooting the ball like, I don't know when I'm going to get it back. I might as well put one up now, And I believe that could be a real thing that could transpire in Los Angeles with the Clippers. It's kind of like too many guys that are almost like the same player. I mean, we'll see. Only time will tell. I'm still happy about Wemby. I know San Antonio is not really like a championship, maybe not even a playoff team. But they got my guy Malachi from the Bucks, and they got Wemby, and I know Malachi don't start. It's this dude Bassel or something like that. And there's a couple other players over there. They got something to kind of work with, but it's a ways to go for my Spurs, and I don't know what's going to happen with the Clippers. All right, football is basically the main course. But right now, because we're only at Wednesday, I got my picks coming up in a day or two. I just really want to marinate on it before I put it out. But I know that we have the Bears and the Panthers on Thursday Night Football. Basically a trash game that's really not even worth my time even speaking upon. I have a little bit of a rooting interest in the event that if Justin Fields was back, and but other than that, I'm not going to really touch that game. I would like to see Bryce Young respond with CJ Stroud getting all this press that he getting, and there's a lot of people that's second guessing whether Bryce Young should have even been the first pick. So that's a little kind of like a side issue, not a big issue. I might make an early morning, afternoon video with a little prediction, but I want to stay away from that. You know what I mean? And actually, I jumped off of the NBA a little too soon because really there was something I did want to touch, and it doesn't involve current NBA players, but this thing with Larsa Pippen and Michael Jordan's son seemed kind of weird to me, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I already get the age difference, and his son out here doing just weirdo times 10, talking about he want his dad to be the best man. And now Jordan then came out saying, look, if this dude go through with marrying her, he is being eliminated from all of Jordan brand or Jordan Industries business. I'm going to cut him off. And now she comes back with a response of, and when we get married, I'm changing my name to Larsa Jordan. I mean, I'm not even going to really even bring Scotty into it, but it's clearly Scotty. This woman is just a disgrace. And for Michael Jordan's son to participate in this clown show or whatever the hell this is, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. You know what I mean? Scottie Pippen have already suffered enough ridicule by, The Last Dance, or, Scottie Pippen is already just permanently Robin from Batman and Robin. He's a lifelong sidekick. So just to be able to be labeled not a boss, that's enough for a man to deal with. You always is somebody's lesser, Now your son done booked my ex-wife and about to marry her and change her name to Jordan, the nigga who basically sunned me all of my career. I mean, not he sunned him intentionally. He just sunned him because he was just better. I mean, I don't even think it's necessarily maybe son was a little bit of a too strong of a word or a phrase to use for him. It was more of a second fiddle or, a second option. There ain't nothing wrong with being James Worthy or, you know what I mean? Or Clay Thompson or, anybody that was next. I mean, it don't matter if he was Kobe. I mean, Kobe really wasn't the dog when Shaq was there, but he stepped into his own, and God rest his soul, Kobe turned into whatever he turned into. Scotty really wasn't quite able to do that once Jordan left. So it wasn't just Jordan's aura cast this big shadow over Scotty that he couldn't come out of because Jordan had retired in between. Jordan came back. Jordan went to the Wizards. Scotty went over to Portland, Houston, wherever, and he just couldn't deliver the magic. So his best days are still going to be associated with Mike. But with all that being said, for her to try to get up in this energy and just turn it into a clown show, it's ugly, it's foul, and I ain't with it. And I don't take joy in watching a man, especially a black man, suffer through anything. So that's enough on that. And that's enough on the NBA. I've already mentioned the fact about the whole smoke thing going on in Ohio. That was really something I didn't really intend to lead off with, but I had just got done watching a news story right before I started recording, and it was talking about the economic impact and all of that. You know what I mean? And before I go, a little bit more of the celebrity news, and it's not a lot of sports news going on today. I do want to shout out or big up Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. Man, I saw a different team Sunday, like Josh McDaniels. It's like all the people that come from that Belichick tree, they don't really work out as head coaches away from that tree. I can go back to like Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss and Josh McDaniels back when he was with the Denver Broncos and drafted Tebow and Brian Flores and Joe Judge, Matt Patricia. These are all examples of people might be trying to pick fruit off the Belichick tree, but that's not really what you want. You know what I mean? This is not really what you want. So I do want to shout out the Raiders for keeping the job in house, elevating Antonio Pierce, who's a former player, a former captain, a former Super Bowl winner, and I just believe that he have a better chance to do, you know, bring the Raiders to a certain level of success. I don't know what level. The roster is not really like a Super Bowl contending type of roster, but they could make the playoffs. They definitely could. He decided to sit Jimmy G. It's kind of like Jimmy G is kind of like, what he is, and it ain't quite enough. So, all right, Jimmy, let's see what this other kid got. Let's give him a chance to see. And, if it don't work out, I'll get back at you. So, he had a decision to make, and he decided to sit Jimmy G, even though he was healthy and could have easily played. So, I shout out to Antonio Pierce and the Raiders Nation. Hopefully, this will be a little shot in the arm, and you guys can get back up and standing on your flags. And like I said, the last topic I really wanted to touch was, I think this internet stardom is really weird because, in my days of growing up, if you were a star, you just was a star on your own stardom of what you done. We had And I know I'm really gonna date myself by saying this. We had like Right On magazine and Jet and Ebony, and you could see the stars and you could see who was out here in different ways. With the social media, it's more like instant gratification, instant everything, you know. So I saw this little beef that's going on with Ray J and Kodak, and it's kind of like it started, I guess, with Kodak being on Drink Champs and making a comment about how grateful he was for Trump to pardon him, And it seemed like the comment was harmless. I don't understand how anybody could take that comment some kind of way. But apparently Ray J took it as, oh, nigga, I got you. I went to Trump and campaigned for you and got him to do this, that, and the other, invite you to the White House and all this. And Kodak is like, nigga, you ain't had nothing to do with this. What are you talking about? This whole thing between me and Trump was strictly between me and him. You don't have any hit records or anything going on, and now all of a sudden you want to take a comment I made on Drink Champs that had nothing to do about you and try to hop on it to try to create a false narrative or a beef with me. You want somebody who's relevant and popping right now to kind of like catapult you into the culture. Even by me sitting here talking about Ray J, to be like, what other reason would I have to talk about him? He doesn't have any hit music. I mean, yeah, he Brandy's brother or on these weird reality shows. But the thing of it is, it's more of an illustration of the way that people use social media and the internet. And once they get a taste of fame and a little bit of that, what they call it when a dog bites somebody, a wanderlust. Like once they get a little bit of that in their mouth, now they can't stop. They want it all the time. And it's just sad to see that this is the world that our youth, our kids, because I'm very heavy and big on my grandkids, my younger cousins and everything. I care about what footprint I leave for them. I want them to see me after my legacy and my story's been written, that to say that, you know what, Gru was a real solid ass nigga. You know what I mean? He was never on no BS or this, that, and the other, and he cared about whatever he did, what type of impact it would have on me. So with that being said, YouTube, I'm gonna come back tomorrow, maybe, but more than likely on Friday, and I'll have some picks for everybody, and hopefully there'll be some other new content. The world is very plentiful with content. I don't struggle with trying to find topics to talk about because this is the world we live in. Topics are just trending all the time. So with that being said, peace out, YouTube.